Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining me today. My name is Julie Tycho Gramlich and this is my channel. Welcome, thank you. I just talk about random issues, specifically women's empowerment is a big topic of mine, or financial readiness, financial wellness, all of that, health and wellness, just random topics here and there, but usually around empowerment, self-confidence, all of the things that I think are incredibly valuable and have really helped me, also Buddhism, have really helped me become happier, healthier, more fulfilled in life, and just trying to help others do the same. So this is like an afternoon coffee chat series, or boba tea, because I'm half Asian, if you don't know. I don't really look Japanese, I don't really look white, but I'm both. So I look, very unique, my own unique face. And yeah, I love these boba drinks and water. This is technically not boba, it's just tea, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, so welcome. So thank you so much. So I think today I was going to talk about the pink tax, actually. I don't know if anybody knows this. It's not an actual tax per se, but it's just the fact that women have to pay more for everyday products. So if you go to any Walgreens, Target, CVS, Rite Aid, any of those big chains, any like Safeway brand, whatever, right? All of the supermarkets, drugstores, any of them, all over the US, you can look at the products side by side. So look at men's deodorant, women's razors, men's razors, and see the price difference. So what normally happens is that, even Ellen DeGeneres has talked about this on the show, it's becoming more of a common thing that people sort of understand, but I definitely want to vocalize and share a little bit more. So for a women's razor or a men's versus a men's razor, the women's razors are smaller, they come in fewer packs, and they're more expensive. They're generally pink. The other ones, the men's ones, are like, they're technically like maybe even better products perhaps, like the shavers are better, more thin, but essentially they're the same core product, right? But the men's one is obviously cheaper for the amount, and same for deodorant too. If you look, like the women's ones are thinner, the men's ones are thicker, and they're cheaper. Obviously men don't have to buy period related, menstrual related products, but that's an extra tax of just being a woman that you have to pay for. I've looked into like other options. So there's this Harvard educated, wonderful, amazing woman who started a panties company. There's a couple now actually, but she started one where it like holds the period. So it like the period soaks into the panties, and then it's reusable. You can just wash it and reuse it again, right? So it's really good for the environment, but it is actually a little bit expensive upfront. It's at least $40 for one pair of panties. And so back then when I looked it up, might have changed, might have gone cheaper. But essentially it's a little bit pricey if you like have never tried that. Alternatively, what I do and what most women do is they either buy tampons or pads, period pads that you just put into your underwear. And no shame around it, right? This is literally what half the world does. Or, there might be other strategies in other countries for some stuff that's more recyclable and that you can reuse it again, like as long as you clean it thoroughly, right? And make sure that you clean it very well. But generally, women in America have always been buying these pads that you just use once and throw away. And you tend to have to use, like a period is anywhere between 3 and 5 to 7 days sometimes. For me, it's about 4 to 5 days. I think that's also like 5 is probably pretty average. And every day I don't use tampons. And I think that would reduce the amount that you need, because you only need one for like 8 hours. And then you need to change it out and use another one. But I just never really liked the concept of tampons. It's totally fine and amazing for women to be able to use those, but there's like, you have to be careful, you have to like make sure you take it out and stuff, and so I just would rather use pads. Anyways, so long story short, I use about, when like, especially at the beginning, it's always heavier, and then towards the end it's lighter. So the first couple of days I'm using at least 5 pads per day on average, because you have, like, once it's too bloody, you have to take it out, right? And so I just, that's like, let's say then I use 5, the next couple days I use 3, and then like 1 or 2, right? Let's say that's like maybe 15 in one cycle of period, maybe 12, let's just 12, let's say a dozen, it's probably a little bit more, 15, in about 5 days of period, right? And that happens once a month. That's ridiculous, right? And then these packs that you buy are like 30, sometimes 24, depends, right? There's so many different varieties. It's like half of a shelf usually. Not half of a shelf, but like half of a corridor that you walk down of pad options. So there's so many. But still, it's like an added tax that I as a woman have to pay every single month just for being a woman. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And if you research and do some but I'm here to do the research for you. So there's actually a lot of, so the Scandinavian countries in general are the best for women's empowerment. The worst are unfortunately like Asia and parts of Africa, like Japan, South Korea, and then other African countries. But in general, like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, all the Scandinavian ones are phenomenal in terms of women's empowerment. A lot of them actually, like Finland's really good. A lot of them the government actually pays for women's sanitary products, because this is not something we should be paying for, right, necessarily. I mean, should or shouldn't, it doesn't really matter. It's just an added tax, right, that women have to pay, an added like expense of just being a woman. And as many of you know, if you've ever been shopping, there's always like, women's clothes is like, there's so many more clothes and we have to buy so much, or you don't have to, obviously. But women's clothes are generally more expensive too for average cost of item, especially once you get into luxury brands and all of that, versus like men's clothes is significantly cheaper. There, you definitely can get high-end clothing for men, of course, without a doubt, right? There's definitely a market for it, but still overall, it's definitely cheaper to be a man in terms of clothing, just basic necessities like deodorant, shavers. What else do men need? I mean, their skincare routines are a lot simpler, right? Women are told you need like all types of skincare products that are really expensive, like these eye creams that are like $200 or more, 500, 600. You can go like higher and higher and higher, right? So there's that, there's like skincare costs, there's makeup costs, there's clothing costs if you are feminine presenting and choose to wear feminine clothing and all of that. Even if you're a man and choosing to be female or whatever, right? Or if you're transgender, that's different. But anyways, like long story short, anybody who is paying for any of these products is paying more. If you want to be feminine presenting, you're gonna be paying more, right, for any of the products. So if it was me and I was a man, but I wanted to be, like, I was transgender. I don't know the exact terminology, so I have to be really careful. It's LGBTQ, but essentially, and I always want to be as inclusive as possible. But let's say, or if I was non-binary, or I was born a male, but my gender was female and I wanted to wear feminine clothing, but I may not have gotten top surgery or bottom surgery, whatever the case is, then I would probably still like try and buy some of the male products. Like I would definitely buy male deodorant, male shavers, yeah. And instead of buying the women's one, because like, I mean, if you do want to be feminine presenting, then you definitely have to, there's no way around it. You have to buy women's clothes or make it yourself, which I know some men who do actually, which is absolutely awesome. Or, but like even makeup, right? You can't really, it's hard to make that yourself. So you have to buy that, which means that you're going to be paying more. So it's not just women who are affected, but also men who are transitioning to female or non-binary folks. So anyways, it's not just women anymore. It's become a more complex, more multifaceted issue. Human beings are complex, right? We are so diverse, inherently diverse. Although genetically we're 99.97% exactly the same. So don't ever forget that, please, because that is an important fact. I mean, race is actually man-made. Race, ethnicity, nationality, all of that, even gender is socially constructed, right? There's nothing that, there's like physical traits that make people different, but like ultimately we're all human beings. We're all like genetically exactly the same at the microcosm level. I'm not a geneticist or a scientist, but I have studied a little bit and I know that, and it makes sense to me, right? Fundamentally, we're all the same. We just present differently and look different and all of that, but otherwise we're like, yeah, we're so much more similar than we are different. So don't want to make this too long. I think we're at 9 minutes and 42 seconds. I'm trying to keep these at like 10 minutes. We'll see how this goes because I love chit-chatting and I don't have that many people to chit-chat with anymore. But yeah, so this is a really great avenue for me to share some ideas, share some of the learnings that I, studied for 2 years, 3 years, and just I'm really passionate about. I really want to help people become more empowered and more financially stable, have more sources of income, learn more, grow more, develop more, all of that, and just be happier individuals. Hopefully that will lead to a better world. That's the hope, that's the dream, yeah. But yeah, ultimately, hopefully that gives you a little bit of a description of what the pink tax is, and hopefully you have a better understanding now of how that affects anybody who would like to be female, or who feels like they are female, or whatever the case is, or they just want to dress female, whatever, right? So many different gamuts. We're complex human beings. But hopefully that gives you some insight into how I think, and how I hope I can share more about this way of thinking as well. And just help you make your own decisions, right? I'm not here to preach or tell anybody what to do at all. I'm just here to share and enlighten and bring hopefully more happiness and joy to people, and create a more inclusive world too. That would be phenomenal. Yeah. Okay, thanks so much, guys. Bye.